let's just get into it because I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with BK.
What's up?
Homie from Denver that I met through Zach, who I met through Kat. And you got a ton of tattoos from Kat, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say a ton compared to the other two artists.
Gotcha.
Shout out Max Snyder. Shout out Mo. But Kat's done some pretty big pieces.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's definitely has always booked me for early morning appointments. And for some reason, for every fucking appointment, I've either still been fucking hammered or extremely hungover.
Nice.
She did like this big ass snake on my chest that like starts right here and goes all the way down.
Ooh.
And I walked in there and she looked at me and she's like, "Hey." I was like, let's just get it going.
Don't talk to me right now.
Yeah, and she was like, "Well, are you all right?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm good, but I'm just like fucking hammered still." It was like 11 a.m. and it was like October and fucking cold or some shit like that. And I was like, dude, this is not ideal. It was like a rainy fucking day too. And I was like, everything is happening right now. Everything happens for a reason. The reason why I'm fucking hungover as shit right now. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Like that.
Let's get back into that combo though about well, first of all, let me give you a little preface of what I know about you because we only met not too long ago. Yeah.
Very
But
recently.
when I moved out here and met Zach, he like immediately showed me your Instagram account with all your art because you're like, dude, this is my buddy BK. You guys would get along great. He's like an artist as well. And
cold ass hands.
That's from this ice dog.
Cold ass hands.
Cold ass hands.
But yeah, you're an artist, dude, and your art is fucking amazing.
Appreciate it.
You're one of the most talented artists I know personally, for sure.
Thank you.
And you've had a gallery show, right?
Yeah, I had a pop-up exhibit at the Source Hotel, which was in Rhino, back in October, and I went there probably like 2 weeks before. I was traveling the whole month of August for doing art, and at that time I was doing a mural project for like 3 weeks in Seattle. Then I flew to LA, did like 3 paintings for my homie Dowett.
Damn.
And then I went to Scottsdale for a bachelor party for some homies I went to college with, and all the money I fucking got for the paintings like went straight to that bachelor party.
Nice.
And I like it was sick as fuck because like I'm with like 20 homies from college, like 12 like best friends. The rest were like people that we were in the same fraternity and all that shit. Haven't talked to them since college, and they're like, "Dude, you're fucking killing it doing the fucking art, man." And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, we're in fucking Scottsdale, Arizona. It's like 1,000 degrees, and so we're all just like 20 dudes in this fucking 75-degree pool, just like sweating in a pool, and like they're like, "Yeah, man, you're following the fucking dream right now." And I'm just like thinking about like my bank account, and I'm like,
what dream are they talking about?
yeah, I was like, I'm actually pretty fucking jealous of you guys because like you guys are like, you got 401ks, you're on salaries, you have a mortgage on a house, planning kids. I mean, I'm not saying I want fucking kids or anything, but like, I'm like, you guys got to figure it out. And they're like, "No, man, you're following the dream." And I was like, damn. Shout out to my finance bros. Like, they see the vision. They see the vision.
Well, that's the thing about being an artist, and I would love to talk about this with you, is like that exact concept of you, and me too. Like we have this, not jealousy. I feel like that's not the right word, but envy of having that like set structure, 401k, the typical life.
Oh yeah.
And then they're the opposite of us, where they're like, damn, you guys have the balls to chase your dreams and pursue what you're passionate about.
100%. And like when I graduated college back in 2019, I did the corporate route and all that stuff. And there was always just something like itching at me of just being like, yo, this is not it. And there's no way I can do this for like 30, 40 more years. Like it's just not, it's not it. And I did like a corporate remote job for about a year and a half. And I got so fucking burnt out. I was like in this 420 square foot fucking studio. There'd be like days, especially in the winter, fucking seasonal depression. Like, wouldn't leave my fucking apartment for like 5 days because like my desk was right in front of my bed. I would literally roll out of bed at like 7:59 a.m. and like log onto my computer and just like be pressing the space bar to stay active, stay green on Microsoft Teams. So my boss wasn't like, hey, where are you? All that type of shit. And then when the summer came around, I was like, yeah, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I have to quit. And I took 3 months off, cashed all my savings bonds that my grandparents gave me when I was a kid. And I was like, I'm going to go fucking chill and travel and all that stuff. And just took like 2-3 months off. And that was kind of like the breaking point of where I was like, I started out drawing again. That was just illustrating was something I always did. Yeah. And I used Sharpie, and before my art page is Gallery Crizzle now, it used to be Sharpie Main. And that was just like, that was like my trade. I was like, I'm going to do Sharpie. I'm going to do like all this stuff. And again, like, it was just like, I just felt, it was like some inner child shit, like touching back with that. It was kind of like, damn, this feels really cool. Like, I feel really like wholesome right now when I'm doing this stuff. Yeah. And then I would send it to like friends and stuff like that. And this was even before I made the page. And people were like, yo, you should make a page, man. Like, just post your stuff, like whatever. And again, like, it's kind of like that anxiousness, like the stuff that nobody talks about as a creative of like, yo, like, you can put this out there. And as much as you like it, like, your mind is probably telling you, like, it does tell me, like, oh, people probably like, oh, this is fucking lame. Like, this is trash. Like, you know, whatever. And to be honest with you, like, nobody's fucking paying attention at all. It literally doesn't matter. Right. It really doesn't, man. Like,
they don't give a fuck.
I'm so serious. Yeah. And like, you know, if I'd ever like, you know, in this last summer, for example, like running into so many people I haven't seen since college, like, you know, they fucking like tell me all the time, and I love it. Like, I love people giving me compliments like, yo, I love what you're doing. I love your art, blah, 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 like all that stuff. But when I started doing it full time last July and I'm getting those compliments, then I'm like, well, buy some art, you know, like support me. Right. You know, like, I love the compliments, but now like this is my job right now. So like, even having the long 15, 20-minute conversation with somebody about my artwork, and then it just is like, cool. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah. What is that doing?
It doesn't do anything. Right. Yeah. Like, it's, again, it feels good, but that's just kind of like where your dream, you want to be a creative, you want to do this, but then money, you know, I've been out here for like next May 14th. It'll be me being out here for 5 years. Damn. You know, and like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, I don't ever want to go back to Illinois where I'm from and shit like that. And through this time of me doing my art full time, there was like challenges where I was like, damn, like, money is super fucking tight. The last 3 years I've been living in a way that I never looked at my fucking bank account at all. Right. And now I'm literally like looking at every single fucking thing that comes out of my bank account, like scratching pennies, like worried about dollars, like all that shit.
Yeah, dude.
And that gets in the way of like your creativity, your fucking mind, your vision, like, because at the end of the day, like, whether I'm getting paid thousands for my artwork, whatever, it's still like a dream. And when reality, like your financial situation and stuff like that, that clouds your dreams, because reality is reality. Like, you got fucking bills to pay, man. Like, you got shit to do. Like, you have to worry about like eating. Like,
For real, bro.
I'm like,
food is fucking.
It's so fucked up, man. Like, there was like the last like 2 months, there's been a few days where I've been like, damn, bro, I'm on like my last 2 slices of bread and I don't even have jelly. I just have fucking peanut butter.
Peanut butter and bread.
You know what I'm saying? And like,
dog, I could not relate more.
That's what I'm saying, dude. And it's like that shit where it's like, even in your social groups and stuff like that, like, I'm like way too proud to fucking like admit that, you know, like that type of shit. And again, with living a very comfortable lifestyle before I started doing my art full time, it's like right when I get money, I'm like, brother, I'm trying to get back in it, man. I gotta do it. Like, fuck saving shit. And then, like, I'll go fucking spend money. And then I'm like oh, shit. Well, damn, all I got is one box of mac and cheese, and it's fucking Monday. And I'm serving part time now. But, like, I just got paid yesterday. Where's the fucking money at? Because, like, I don't know. Now it's like I work fucking 3 days a week. It's cool. And it's good structuring because now I've gotten a good balance with my artwork and getting out of the fucking house.
Yeah, doing something else.
It's very important. And again, like the mental lesson as well of just like, hey, this can always be your dream. Your dream will never die, whether you're working or you're not working or you're doing your art full time, whatever it is. Like, if you really fucking give a shit about it, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're going to make time for it.
Right.
And that was like a hard lesson for me. When I started working at the end of February again, but you know, like the first thing in my mind went to was you failed, like you fucked up, like it didn't, like you're not an artist anymore. But then it slowly turned into like to keep on processing on that for weeks. At that point was like, no, it's just not the time right now. And like timing is so important. And it's like right now you have to be patient with yourself because again, if this is really your passion, your lifelong dream, like it doesn't matter when you blow up or when things start popping for you or when you get these opportunities and stuff like that. Because like when those happen, like that's just like a fucking blessing, you know? And you're like, damn, bro, like this is fucking tight, man. Yeah. And like, for example, I'm going home next week back to Illinois in my hometown. I haven't been home in about 3.5 years. Just because it fucking kind of sucks out there. My family will come and visit me now because they're like, you live in Colorado.
It's cool.
You know? Yeah, fuck yeah, it's sick. And I'm like, I'm not trying to go back to that bullshit. Yeah, shout out to my mom. She just opened up she's been grinding the last 5 years as a personal trainer. Just got a new studio.
Damn.
So
no way.
I'm flying back to do a painting for her studio.
No way. Yeah. Like full wall type shit?
Or? She just wants me to do a large canvas because she's like, if I ever move studios, I want to be able to take it with me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, respect.
That's cool.
But then through that, like a homie he was an older homie, my older brother's friend, like reached out for a painting because I like posted about me going home and stuff like that. And then one of her clients is getting a painting from me as well while I'm back. So I'm back for 4 days. I'm going to crank out like 3 paintings. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the shit that's cool.
Opportunities.
Yeah. Kind of what I was doing like in August. Like you're just traveling for the opportunities when they're there. And like for my mind, there's a whole backstory of kind of what happened in Seattle. And we can talk about that later if we'd like. But
yes.
Yeah. The opportunities in Illinois is like going back to August, all those opportunities, you know, I quit my job and I quit that job because I applied for a leave of absence for the month of August and then they denied it. So I was like, I'm trying to be a fucking artist. Like this is my dream. And I was like, fuck it. Like I'm quitting because I thought I had some shit lined up. And I mean, you guys are fucking young as hell. And like a big learning lesson throughout these last, you know, several months was like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Like I just went for it.
Right.
And things just fell through like out of my control. And like these opportunities were going to be opportunities that were going to like set me off for the next several months if they happened and I would have gotten paid out. But the issue was that they fell through and I was like, oh, well, I'm good. I still have like paintings at home that those will probably sell. Nothing fucking sold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I like got back to Denver and I was like, well, now I'm back in Denver. I have no artistic opportunities and I'm fucking poor. And I don't want to work because I'm still on this fucking high of like doing all these custom paintings and these sick ass projects, being in different states, like experiencing all that and like finally like being comfortable, like having conversations with strangers and shit and being like, yo, I'm an artist. And they're like, oh my God.
I struggle with that, dude.
Yeah, it's difficult for a really long time. Like, I was out in Santa Fe a few years ago with my ex-girlfriend and we were they have a great art scene out there and they just have like a whole 2 blocks of just galleries just fucking everywhere. Yeah. It's literally just the whole road. And when it comes to me, like, observing art, I just like to kind of be like a fly on the wall. Like, I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't even really like walking into galleries and stuff like that. Like, I think, I appreciate art. That's why I'm inspired to do it. But there's just like a part of me that's like, like, I just want to figure some shit out on my own, and like, kind of like, yes, I want to be inspired by others, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing for me. And then Amber was like, hey, like, we're walking past the last gallery, and she's like, you want to go in there? Because there's some guy, an artist, Daniel McCoy. If you guys don't know, he's a New Santa Fe, New Mexico-based artist. He's got some beautiful ass work that's very similar to mine, with like the bold black line work and stuff like that. But he does like a lot of landscape stuff in like a pop way. It's fucking sick.
That's dope.
But we go in there. He's got a whole exhibit in there. We checked it out, and then we started chatting it up with the gallery manager. We were like the only ones in there. And then I started kind of asking questions like, so, like, how does a person get into a gallery?
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, you just kind of like apply when there's openings for exhibits and stuff like that. And she was like, are you an artist? And I was like, and then Amber like cut in super high. She's like, yes, he's an artist. And like, just like, just piggybacking off what you said, like, dude, it's hard, like, to like say it, because I mean, to be honest with you, like, there's a lot of shit on Instagram. There's a lot of people who want to be an artist, or they're, whether it's music, painting, whatever, any medium. And a lot of it's just like talk, they want like they
want the title without the work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right. 100%. And like, that's the fucking issue, is we get thrown into that pool with all the others. And it's like, in my mind, it like fucks with my brain, because I'm like, well, why am I not popping off right now? Like, why am I not getting like thousands, hundreds of thousands likes? Like, why don't I have like this massive community on Instagram? Like, all that stuff. And it just doesn't matter. Like, because like the only thing that does matter is like what you can do for yourself, like being present as possible. Because like once you start like projecting shit, once you start like thinking backwards, like all that stuff, dude, it's just like nothing makes sense at that point. And then it's like you question the values of like, why am I doing this? Like, am I trying to do this to blow up? It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, or does it matter about the fucking passion?
Right.
Yeah.
Like how it makes you feel inside? Because once, I've had a lot of opportunities come up recently that they're like, hey, we give you full creativity. You do all this, blah, blah, blah. Spend a whole fuckload of time on a concept, and then it's this constant back and forth of like, ooh, like, well, what about this? And what about like, let's, change this up, and like, let's make it more like this. And I'm like, I would have never have committed to this if this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I've learned in connecting with a bunch of other artists recently is like, they're like older artists, who've been doing this for years and years and years, and they got families and all this stuff. They still do the art, and they're like, that's never going to end. It'll never stop.
That's crazy.
Bro, remind me to give you that book, The War of Art.
Absolutely.
You are going to fucking love this book, man. Basically, the general idea of it is he's trying to paint a picture between amateur artists and professional artists, and artist as a broad term. Put whatever you want in there.
Okay.
And he's saying like the amateur will only work on their projects when they feel like it. The professional will do it every day, even if they fucking hate it, And Jim Carrey, I think it's Jim Carrey. No, Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld? He wrote a joke every day, no matter what. Yeah. Even if it was the most dog shit joke ever, he still wrote. And now he's one of the most famous comedians ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to your point about just like the struggling life of an artist. I went through the same thing, man, where I put all my eggs in the basket for Lonely Cowboy. And then I started, caring about trying to get the just attention of people instead of focusing on what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then it just fucked me. So this kind of rebrand of Lonely Cowboy in the podcast is pretty much all about respectfully fuck the audience.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm doing
100%.
this shit for me.
Yeah.
And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's
exactly.
Yeah. When did you switch, like, because you said you started doing just Sharpie and stuff like that. When did you do acrylic stuff now?
Yeah.
When did you make that?
So I went from Sharpies. So that was like January of 2021.
Oh.
And then, so that came around like, and I was like doing that just for, until I quit my job later in August, and I took the 3 months off.
Oh, yeah.
So then I started working again December of 21. And then I got this job at the airport, and it was just an absolute gold mine for money. Nice. And I got my money up super quick. And that's kind of where I was talking about before I quit my job, where I was like just living so comfortably.
Right.
Just got a fucking bag off that immediately. And then I bought an iPad. And then I started on Procreate. Then I started doing everything on Procreate. But then I realized I was just using all the paintbrushes,
Right.
So then it was kind of like, and everybody was like, yo, this is fucking awesome. Like, and a lot of people were like, yo, this painting's sick. And I'm like, no, actually I made it on Procreate. And there was like a few reactions that were like, and I was like, so then it's kind of like some imposter syndrome, like, that type of thing. And through this time, I was going through a lot of like patience within myself and stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, pick up the brush whenever you pick up the brush. It's cool. And then July of 2022 is when I did my first painting. And that's the one. Have you been to Zach's place?
Yeah.
So the big painting with all the Z's on it, that was my first painting I ever did. Yeah.
No shot. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I bought that, or I finished that, and then and bought that like a few months later when I did my first art show.
Okay.
But yeah, so July of 2022 is when I first started painting. And then like from there, I don't know, always like loved like eyes, just faces without like a facial structure, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
abstract-esque.
Yeah. And, it just kind of like ran with that. And it seemed that like from the small audience I had at the time, it was like, all right, like this feels good. Like people are vibing with this. I'm vibing with it. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
And then, later that year, December of 2022, I did my first show as an art vendor at Old Soul Fiesta. With Kat. Yeah. And Kat and I, that summer, like July to like September, we were just like painting in her backyard and shit, and like just me getting like fucking acquainted with it and just learning, just experimenting,
right?
Like, nothing serious, whatever.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Hey, like we kind of need some extra vendors. Would you be interested in like live painting or maybe selling art and all that stuff?" And I'm like, "Live painting? Fuck no, like no shot." And then I was like, I just don't think I'm ready for all that stuff. And Cal was just like, why? Like,
why not?
Like, what do you mean? Like, it's just like, just try, whatever. And I was like, yeah, like, no, And then like a few weeks later, we were just like doing the same shit. And I was like, yo, Kat, like, I think that by this time it was like August. And I was like, all right, like, I'm in. Like, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
I'll commit. And she's like, all right, cool. And I remember when December came around, dude, like, that whole day before, like prepping for the art show, all that stuff, like I just like looked at all my fucking paintings and I was like, no, they have to get touched up. Like they have to.
Damn.
Like just like fucking like maniac mode, like going crazy. I did a shit ton of canvas prints on canvas paper.
Okay.
Like of my digital work that I did on my iPad.
Okay.
And all that
Some at
stuff.
Zach's house.
Yeah, there's a
those, yeah.
shit ton of. They have a bunch of them.
Okay.
They probably need to hang those up because it's been about 2 fucking years and they're just fucking sitting there collecting dust. I can't even fucking tell you how many fucking prints I've sold to like my homies from college, my fucking homies here in Denver, like all them, like my homies in Denver outside of Zach's, Marley, and Lizzie's place.
Yeah.
Bro, that art show is December 2022. I have 3 homies I went to college with that all bought a print. They're all just fucking sitting in the fucking paper that they were sold in, just in their fucking beer cart. And I'm just like, damn. I go there all like every week, and I'm like, still haven't gotten those up. Huh?
Yeah. Give them shit for it.
Yeah, all the time.
That's
and
awesome.
They're moving on Wednesday, and I was there last weekend. They had all their boxes ready and all that shit. And they're like, BK, like, I swear to God, we're going to get these hung up at the new place. And I'm like, I don't even want to fucking hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
At the time, like, thank you for the transaction. Thank you for the money. I appreciate you guys supporting me. But then it's like, well, like, support it by promoting it in your house. Like,
Right.
you bought it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's art. It's supposed to be hung up somewhere or placed to be viewed by others. Like, it doesn't help me. Like, in the short term, yeah, it helped me financially. But, like, that doesn't help me marketing-wise. Like, that you have art from me and it's away.
Right. It'll create conversation if it's up on the
yeah.
wall.
Or or just someone being like, "Oh, that's cool.
Who did that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's it. Like,
Easy as
that's all I want. You know, that's all I ask for. That's the whole point of me doing it. I want eyes on my shit. And it's like, that's just like a hard thing to, like, you know, I'm not going to. There was one day, actually, Zach and Marley, they all fought. Like, I just saw Scotch tape and I just grabbed all the prints that they bought for me and I just started putting them up on the fucking wall. And I didn't,
That's awesome.
A handful of them have fallen off. It's literally Scotch tape. But I'm there every week and I'm like, you know, y'all could just, like, hang these up, man. Like, you know, I, like, you know, for Zach's birthday, I painted him a painting. Well, I was like an experimental painting. And I was like, I think Steve would like it. And I gave it to him. It's just like leaning on the floor in the fucking kitchen. And then, like, fucking Lizzie, like, she was like, oh, it's a floor painting. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? She's like, yeah, it looks good leaning. And I'm like, bro, it's literally like it's on the wall that nobody looks at.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's, like, the couch is not facing that way. The kitchen's not facing that way. I'm like, but again, like, do I need to start breaking into motherfuckers' houses to hang my own fucking art up? I just start getting, like, breaking and entry charges, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm hanging up their art that they purchased from me. Like, that's, like, I mean, fuck. Like, do I have to do that? Like,
right.
Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people in, like, Chicago. That's where a lot of my friends live still, and it's like, I might just have to fucking buy a round trip for, like, 48 hours and just go to everybody's house and be like, I'll fucking do it for you, man. Like, you bought it from me. Holy shit, you know. But I don't know.
Got it. Okay.
It's different.
Yeah.
You know, like, art in general, the whole hustle around it is just kind of like it goes so up and down.
Yeah.
You think you're up, and then, you know, again, life just always happens, and then, you know, bills get taken out of your account, all that type of stuff, and you're like, well, where'd that money go? You know, and stuff. And, you know, again, things have been relatively slow the last few months, and there's been, like, questioning. I'm like, hey, like, should I decrease my pricing, or should I make things cheaper, make things more affordable for people in the price range? And, you know, like, I always try and get the best price out of people through the salesmanship, but also like, you know, it's also got to be, like, affordable for you. Like, I never want to, like, press somebody for what's going on in their bank account, you know, or, like, trying to be like, no, dude, you need this painting because it'll fill the wall so well, but that's like $600 more, like, that type of thing. And again, like, I think that just, like, takes the values out of, like, being an artist, or, like, you know, it's like, I mean, that just, like, applies to life of, like, forcing shit. Yeah. It's like, I ain't trying to do that shit.
Does it feel like you have to, like, force shit? Like, so, like, for a gallery show or something like that, does it feel like you're forcing it down people's throat then, or is it like?
I wouldn't say so. So, like, I guess we didn't really get to talk about it because we just started talking about whatever. But so the pop-up exhibit I did at the Source Hotel in October. So, like, I had just gotten back from the trip, and this was, like, September. I got back, and then she was like, hey, like, why don't you come in? The marketing coordinator or whatever of the hotel. She had me come in and just look at the space of, like, all the walls that we were able to use, and it was me and one other artist, Marina, and it was, like, a massive space, like, for this. And, like, the series, my debut series, is all, like, large canvases. Like, the smallest one is like a 24 by 30, but, like, that's that's a dual piece, and then the rest are, like, 30 by 40s, 2 36 by 36 canvases, and then I have 2 36 by 48 canvases. So they're, like, big as fucking. I had this massive fucking wall, and I was like, I'm gonna bring those. And then we have all these tables, and I just, like, brought all the experimental pieces I brought too. And those are, like, again, that was my first experience of, like, an exhibit like it was a pop-up, so it's not like they were staying there for an X amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just one night, and like that was cool to like see all my art, and there was a lot of fucking people there. I sold, I think, 2 paintings and then a custom jacket. So that was cool. Like it felt good. But the big thing that kept coming back was like, I can't afford it. You know, like I love this piece, but it's expensive. Yeah, right. And
I thought you were talking about it's expensive to be an artist.
Oh well, yeah, that.
Yeah.
But like that is also why like the pricing is.
Oh
there.
right, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I'll fucking be honest with you, man. It's crazy. Like, you know, like there's like 16 by 20 fucking paintings that are worth more than my fucking 3 foot by 4 foot paintings.
Totally, yeah.
And like, in my mind, that's where it kind of just trips you up because it's so subjective. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to like lowball myself on the time that I've put in on these pieces. But then also like, that's where it all kind of comes down to is like, am I in the wrong community? And is it too much like conditional friendship that like they support me, unconditional friendship that like they support me regardless. Right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And my big thing is like I want to sell to like strangers. Like I want to sell art to people who like don't even fucking know who I am, who they never like I might not even ever even see them face to face ever in my life.
Yeah.
You know, but that comes to a point where you definitely need assistance from that. And I mean, social media is a great tool for advertising work and stuff like that. But how do you build off of that, you know? Because again, a like is not a purchase.
Nope.
Someone reposting your story is not a purchase. It potentially might lead to someone, but like, I don't know, in my experience, it's more so just people, you know, I'll get follows from people sharing my stuff and reposting and like, yeah, that feels good. But like, again, like it's just another like, and you know, that's where it's like, well, I'm not trying to be like an influencer or an Instagram artist. I want to be an artist. And through that is like where you have to like kind of outreach to like professional help. But, you know, through that, like that costs money. You know, to like have an artist manager or apply to be in an exhibit for a gallery.
Right.
And galleries take 25 to sometimes like 50% cuts off their commissions.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy because like you just have to think like, okay, my art's here for 3 months, 1 month, whatever. These people have connections where, you know, they might have people who just want a private tour of your exhibit to purchase your work, and they have to pay bills to
hold the space.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's one artist I follow, I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, Wizard Skull, but he's Brooklyn-based artist, and he's got like 400,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh my God.
400,000, but he's still like, he's on the same shit. Like he still fucking eats like a fucking peanut butter sandwich and like a $3 coffee. And like, he's like he's an older guy, very transparent. Like he's like, yeah, I'm painting all these paintings, but I have to pay rent at my apartment, which I no longer have heat or hot water or anything in there. I have $5,000 for rent on my Brooklyn studio, and I have to sell these paintings. Like, I literally have to, or I'm going to be on the streets. But, like, the size of his canvases and, like, the amount of paintings he has, you know, in my opinion, like, that's, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work in there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're not making that sale, if you're like, if you don't have like the community that's like purchasing work and stuff like that, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing that's also like I've understood about art, especially if you want to sell art at a high price as just like a regular human being, you know, is people probably only just buy one piece from you.
Right.
And they're set forever.
Right.
And that's tough because, like, say you made, like, one thing, like, Wizard Skull is, like, he's like, yeah, like, he showed a few paintings that he sold for, like, $20,000. And he was like, that's paid off my bills for the next several months. But that $20,000 runs out after a amount of time, and that person's probably never going to buy a piece off me ever again. So we got to find more people.
Yeah,
you have to
right.
find more people,
Community,
or like,
yeah.
how are you going to get that in? And back to what I was saying about the gallery stuff is like he's, people are always like chatting on him because he does like a lot of Q&A stuff. Like, why don't you try and get in a gallery? And he's like, well, yeah, I think a New York gallery is probably paying like fucking $50,000 a month on rent space.
Oh.
So say your painting is priced at $5,000 and they need a 50% cut, and all your paintings are $5,000 and they take 50%, that's $2,500. So that's even if you sell all the paintings.
Yeah.
That's not even close to their monthly rent.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is it to them? What is it to you?
Right.
Financially? It's like, that's why things don't work out. And, I get the same, ignorance of suggestions from people. And I know it's just people being kind and stuff like that. But like get into a gallery, get into all this stuff. And I was actually talking to a gallery last summer about exhibiting, and we were like pretty forward, moving forward with it. And to be honest with you, I kind of dropped the ball on it. I fucking like went to a music festival and we got fucking blasted for 5 fucking days. And I was like, I'll get back to you on Monday.
Yeah.
And I like it just completely just slipped my mind.
Yeah.
The one thing that the reason why I kind of got turned off on it, I guess I didn't necessarily drop the ball, but the art manager got back to me, and then she referenced my work to like 4 other artists. She's like, oh, your work reminds me of these 4 artists. And I looked them up, and it looked nothing like anything I've ever done. And I was like, did you look at like the right application?
Yeah.
Like, did you like even look at, what it was like so weird. And like, again, like that was something that like turned me off as well. But when it came to the numbers, like it was a smaller gallery, and like they wanted like 30% of sales. And I'm like, okay, like that's cool. But well, does that mean like I have to like up my prices just to have the percentage like that? The 70 that I'm taking is what I would take if I just sold it myself.
Yeah, right.
And that just like didn't like feel good with me,
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had this conversation with anyone or like anybody in the art expertise of like putting a number on my art.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
And like, there's been times where I've like talked to other artists and stuff like that, and they're like, what would you sell this at? And they'd be like, I mean, honestly, like speaking of like my 3 foot by 4 foot paintings, they'd be like, yeah, we'll probably put that up like, I'd probably say like $10,000-$12,000. And I'm like, that's sick. Like that's cool. But like, I don't fucking know anybody that's willing to throw me fucking 10 racks just to say like, and then just like have this price listed on my website. Like, and then it's like, I also think traffic wise to people who do come to my website and stuff like that, like that might just be a turnoff because they're like, well, I'll never be able to afford this artist or his work and all that stuff. So again, it's just like a learning lesson.
Yeah, find the balance.
Art's so fucking weird, man. The art world is, it's, my dad was a art dealer, I guess.
Yeah.
For a big gallery in Toronto and New York. Mm-hmm. And he was an artist too, and he was very talented, but I mean, the percentage of artists that go from amateur to professional and then to being able to make a full living off of it is probably less than 1%. Easily less than 1%, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah. It's so fucking hard. But I had this idea for Lonely Cowboy. I used to have a studio in Buffalo where I would like record the podcast, do photo shoots and shit. I should not have, going back to like putting all my eggs in one basket, that shit, I should not have done that early in the company. But it taught me a lot. Right. Anyways, bring it full circle. The next studio I want to get, whenever that is, I want to incorporate a section for Lonely Cowboy, a tattoo section, a barber shop, a gallery section for artists like you and other friends that, support that whole community. Because like you said, if there is a community where people fuck with you, you're going to get clientele from Lonely Cowboy, from the tattoo artist, from the barber shop, and that would be fucking dope. And it would eliminate you having to pay these outrageous
commissions.
Yeah, commissions to the music or galleries.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. So my buddy Edie, he owns his brand Original Ugly.
Hell
and,
yeah.
I met him through some mutual friends, and he's out here in Colorado, and we've actually become really close. And I think he'd also be a great guest on the podcast. He is a fucking absolute great person.
Could you say his name one more time?
Edie, IDI.
IDI. Okay.
Yeah, and he's actually him and I. So like the custom jacket I sold, a lot of the custom clothing I do, I use his stuff, Original Ugly.
Gotcha.
And just because I love supporting him, I think he makes some great clothes. You know, the quality of clothing he uses, all that stuff.
Does he do it full time?
As of right now, yeah, he's just doing a lot of like freelance work on top of Original Ugly as well. Yeah, him and I are very much so in the same realm right now. Like we quit our jobs around the same time, and we're like, "Fucking dude, let's do it." So, he lives all the way fucking out in Aurora. So like, it's just every time like we talked a few weeks ago, and we hadn't seen each other in probably like a month and a half, and like we were just on the phone for like 2 hours, just again, kind of what we're doing right now, just fucking talking about shit, ideas, and all that stuff. But his brother's a real estate agent and has a little space, kind of like between Denver, Aurora, right on the borderline.
Okay.
And it's just a small space. And when we were on the phone, he was just telling me, he's like, "Yo, like I would love to like have this as like an Original Ugly pop-up place. Like if we could," he's like, "We have like artist studio lights on the walls now." And he's like, "If you want to bring in some paintings and just leave them here and stuff like that, we can do pop-up events, like have DJs kind of mix around." And like, then I brought up to him, I was like, "Dude, what if you kind of like turned it into like a curated creative space for people? And if you can make, like, if you wanted to like make it a little profitable and stuff like that, like kind of having like a monthly membership and like scheduling system to just kind of like book your time and when you're coming, and like come work on your shit." And like, the reason why I got this idea is because I've been like setting up my mom's website, and for her, you know, past class like packages and all that stuff. And I was like, you could kind of run it like that. Like people could like pay you for a day pass just to work in there for several hours while other artists are in there working on their shit. Yeah. And just kind of have like corners of like spaces and tables where, or like bring your own fucking table and just kind of like chop it up with others during the day and just like work on your stuff and all that stuff. And, you know, he was like, "Yeah, that's definitely something to consider." So like to your question, yeah, like I think that would be like a cool thing to do. But again, I feel like there's just too much of talk of like being an artist and stuff like this. And then like, well, how does that turn out over time of like, this isn't like a fucking hangout spot, you know what I'm saying? Like this isn't like a quote unquote like a club, you know, like this is like a productive space, like that type of thing. And like to what you were saying on your concept of like, these are just like sole people, you know, kind of like splitting, you know, the bill of it and everything, the rent space and all that. But yeah, I think that's cool. You know, a big thing that I also learned as well too is like, you know, art in general is such a wide, you get everybody, walks of all life. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many people out there who they're just different from what your preferences are and vice versa and stuff like that. And like I've met a handful of artists out here who I'm like, I fucking love your work. And then we kind of have like a conversation and stuff like that. And then it's like, like, like we're like just different, and like that's totally cool and stuff like that. And like, you know, I think that's where I think it's better to be like more specific of like knowing who you're splitting your shit with. And
like, for sure.
Yeah, like you know, like this isn't just like a, hey, we need you to like cut the bill down, and then it's like, well, then what are these? You know, you just got to make sure everybody's on the same page, has the same motives, because again, like, people hear like, oh, creative space. So that means I can just go fucking hang out there and like I can just chill and watch people like do art and like light up a fucking joint. And like it's like, or like maybe have a few fucking beers on the couch and stuff. And it's like, well, now you're just like invading space at that point.
Right. Yeah.
The idea I had in my mind was my barber back home. He's one of the hardest workers I know. He's a super cool dude. He would enjoy that type of atmosphere with other hard workers. Again, the tattoo artist that I would want there, she's amazing. She works really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So it'd be people who are like-minded
Sure.
and all can see the vision of, it would almost be like the Denver market and that kind of format, but just different. Instead of food, it's,
Right.
art. Different other shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Have a fucking music studio in there. Oh,
I mean, you're fucking. What kind of fucking investment loan are you gonna get, man?
that's just
Fucking
like
a recording studio. Jesus Christ! I'm like,
He
sir.
wants it all.
Yeah.
no,
I'm like,
these are very, very long-term, ambitious goals.
I
But,
see the vision of where. Yeah, but you guys start somewhere as well.
Totally,
So
Yeah,
totally.
right.
yeah, I mean, you said studio. I'm like, that's like 500,000 right there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It would be an investment
And
for
that's
sure.
like months we can't even be in the space. Like, we're
Yeah.
like, you get all these people in, they're like, well, actually, we can't actually get set up for another 4 months because they got to get the studio ready.
Yeah, it would be a
That's
big
funny.
project, but I think it would be cool and successful. And especially in Denver, there's a lot of creative people out here,
Oh yeah,
and they would fuck with that a creative market where you can go get a tattoo, grab a painting, grab a beer, grab a haircut in a day at the same spot.
yeah.
That would be fucking dope. Something that me and Ollie have been discussing over the last few weeks with the podcast and Lonely Cowboy and shit is about social media and how can we make Lonely Cowboy social media proof. So if Instagram goes away tomorrow, social media Lonely Cowboy can survive. Do you ever think about that with yourself?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm already, I think in the last month I've been pretty consistent on posting and stuff like that. And it's a job.
Yeah.
And if you take it away today, I mean, I feel like it's just at that point, it's like, dude, you got to be like a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
You got to
for
like
real.
go post up in the city or like post up in Rhino and be like, yo, this is our brand, and like try to get, or like
It's got to be word of mouth.
go to like curated
Visibility.
events as a vendor and stuff like that, which like we should be doing anyways and stuff like that. Like sometimes I just fucking think like everything's going to fall in my fucking hands. And then it's like, well, no, I actually got to make a play and make some shit shake. Cause like motherfuckers ain't just fucking looking at my fucking art just for fucking fun all the time. Like, I'll tell you that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like in my mind, I'm like,
That'll
yeah,
happen.
this post, this fucking reel got like 7 likes and like 300 views. Like, it's going to make a sale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
totally.
I've been saying this for months now. I'm like, dude, I just need to go to Rhino or I need to go to Santa Fe and just walk in the galleries and show face just to fucking talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been fucking saying that for 3 months. Like, I'm like, yeah, today's the day. Like, and then I'm like in bed, just fucking stoned, laying in bed with my fucking roommate's cats, and I'm like,
Shit.
yeah, there'll be a sale. And it's like the fucking 28th, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like 700 short on fucking rent right now. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm about to do. You know? But like, again, nothing's gonna happen. Like, say like people are, like we'll do, like I have these conversations and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, like I don't think your art aligns or whatever, blah blah blah, or like the rejection. Like, that's where my head's at. Like, I just immediately resort to like rejection of like something not being wanted. But then I've also like gone into situations like that, and I fucking like get commissioned for like 2-3 pieces,
Yeah.
or like I get like a serious connection with a person to another person of like who's actually like interested in acquiring art and stuff like that. And like those are those things, back to your question, is like that's like a necessity. Like, say social media ends tomorrow, how do you make it still a thing?
Yeah.
And dude, it's just like the simple logic of being a fucking human and socializing with others and
Totally.
communicating, bro. Like
That was what we got to
yeah,
too. Yeah.
like you can't just be this like social media person behind the phone. Like nobody like
It's just not real.
yeah, like nobody knows you. Like yes, they probably like, you know, I'm pretty like in depth on my captions and stuff like that, just kind of like speaking from my mind and like how I feel about my pieces and the emotions going through when I was doing it, all that type of stuff. But again, what's reading that, like what's reading my caption compared to like the person who's got like 2 million followers and they have the caption like this celebrity who has a similar caption and everyone's like, I fuck with that. But like I'm posting the same things, but why don't I have 2 million followers? It's like what I'm saying is like it's the same shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's saying it. It doesn't matter who's fucking posting about it. Like, because at the end of the day, like social media is a personal thing to you and what you're trying to put out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But people really do just appreciate the simple conversation of being in person and hearing you talk, like seeing your face, like your emotions during the conversation of how you feel about your shit. And that's like when the sales happen. Like, because they're like, yo, like, I feel you. Like, I fucking hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
for real,
and I'm
though.
like just sitting there. I'm like, this is what I think about in my fucking head all the time. And it just starts pinballing in my head back and forth in my own fucking head. And then it starts sounding fucking crazy or wrong or incorrect because it's only me that's addressing it in my own self. But then you fucking put it out there in the fucking world and everyone's like, oh my God, BK, it's like, holy shit, this kid's got some fucking heart, man. You know, and I think that's the issue with social media is because we're so fucking comfortable. We're so comfortable with like I've said it to you, like I'm like, oh, I'll post this fucking reel, like that'll do,
right?
And it's like
this will be the one,
and it actually does fucking nothing,
right?
It's getting the same amount of views and likes that all my other shit gets. It's not generating anything, right? Again, I get the messages of like, love your work. And I'm like heart, and then reply back like the heart hand emoji. Thank you. Like, dude, I do that all fucking day, and like in my mind, like that's the issue. Is like my condition is like that's enough. Right. Like I did it. Yeah. And it's like no, like that's not doing it. Like that, like no, I have to like put out, like I have to be uncomfortable. Like you, like stop being comfortable. Like we're so like.
Got to go in person.
We just rely on this shit. And that was another thing too, like with that gallery when I was heading on that trip, but like she had asked me like, hey, come in for, you know, just to come see the gallery, get a feel for the, you know, the vibe in here, everything. And like my like stomach dropped. I was like, oh, I have to talk to like an art professional, you know? And I'm like, why? Like what, like, yes, I haven't done that, you know, much. And it's a new thing. So I understand that, yeah, the anxiety probably triggers from something new. But also, like, well, is this what you fucking want? Like, do you want this for yourself? Yes. So, like, go fucking do it. I never did it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, like, those are those things where it's like, that could have been an absolutely amazing opportunity. And, like, you know, we talk about, you know, we were talking about the cuts and the percentages that the commissions they take off sales and stuff like that. It's like, dude, if it all goes back to like the passion thing. Yeah. Does it fucking matter? Right. You know, and it also applies to like putting all your eggs in one basket, because at that point I was putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm this self-taught, ignorant ass fucking artist who doesn't fucking know shit about like anything educational about art or whatever. Like people are like, ooh, you know, for the longest time, just a quick example before we get off topic is like people would be like, oh, what's your medium? And I'm like, I don't know. I just fucking paint. And they're like, well, like, what do you paint? And I'm like, colors and like faces and stuff. They're like,
cool.
Okay. And I was like, oh, wait, like, I think I was supposed to know something there. And I just don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And, but yeah, like, going back to the cuts, the opportunities, and putting all your eggs in one basket, I was just in the situation that I was like, oh yeah, my fucking art's worth thousands and all that shit, like with no like background of like actually making a sale at that time of that amount. And it was just like, you can't bet on that. Like, you can't bet on your own. I mean, that's just a fucking ego thing. Like, you're just like, oh, I'm good. I can fucking make it out.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like, no, you actually like probably should like put like painting down for a little bit and like really focus in on the like what you should know in these sorts of conversations, and like educating yourself of what you don't know. And like, you know, in my mind, it's like, well, I taught myself how to paint. I taught myself how to draw and all that stuff. Like, I didn't fucking like take art. I fucking hated art classes like growing up in high school and all that stuff, because they were like, you need to make like, I went to like a fucking Catholic school.
For high school or college?
No, like growing up. And, like, they had me fucking drawing like churches and fucking like,
bullshit.
You know, like the Easter Bunny and fucking Jesus and like Santa and God at Christmas and stuff like that. And I was like, I can't like, but also at the same time, it's like, dude, we gotta fucking, you know, we gotta figure this shit out.
Yeah.
You know? So that like turned me off at a young age. But then once I found out, I was like, oh, well, you can just like draw on your own.
Whatever
like,
you want.
You know, yeah. And then that's where things kind of connected. But
do you believe in divine timing?
100%. Everything. Like, whether it doesn't work out, the things that don't work out are the best instances of divine timing, because like that's the lesson.
Bro.
Like, because it ends for a fucking reason. Like this, people are like, again, like me, like having to work again, getting a job again. It's like, I didn't want to do that. Maybe because 75% I'm lazy as fuck, but you know, and I was just enjoying chilling, you know, but yeah, like there's just those times where people are, when things don't work out, they're like, it's bad. Like, this is bad. Like, what am I going to do now? And, you know, I think that's a valid thought to have in the beginning.
Yeah, you're going to have it no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
But through processing that, how can you go for months of being like, that was a bad thing? But through that time, you're doing completely something different and brand new, and you're still like on path.
Yeah, and if everything worked out right away, then how would you learn anything?
Exactly. Like how do you value life?
Right.
Like how do you appreciate anything? There would be no appreciation if things just worked out. Like, bro,
totally.
I can't, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, dude, my fucking bank account's just been bouncing in negative balances for the last like 3 months. I'm fucking, you know, struggling, eating and shit like that. It's like, bro, I'm going to remember this shit for the rest of my life, that like I'm never going to fucking be in this situation ever again once I have the opportunity to be better when the time is right.
Right.
Because like all this shit that I'm going through, all this shit that fucking sucks right now, like this isn't just happening because I'm fucking up and like doing dumb shit all the time. Like, dude, I'm just like working towards something bigger that like just has to blossom. And like people just want that instant gratification of just like, yeah, like I'm a fucking artist and blah, blah, blah. And like, I've even gone through that with myself, that like, oh yeah, like I'm good. But then once you realize when you get to good, a whole fucking staircase of fucking knowledge opens up of what you don't even know. And then you're like, oh damn, that's a really fucking long stairwell. That's a really fucking steep mountain to climb. And well, do you stop and just go back down the mountain, or do you like have to keep going? Like, it's going to take a long fucking time, but like your goal's at the top, you know? And that's just like the best way I think about it. And I think of, you know, adding on to that too, you gotta, like, the most important thing is like, you got to give yourself grace. And this isn't just like an artist thing. Like, this is a life thing. This is a social thing. This is, it applies to everything. It's like, you know, when you start feeling fucking pressed and like you start feeling yourself, like your emotions getting out of tune and stuff like that, it's like, that's where like it's time to like slow down a little bit and like reflect and like, hey, let's look at the last week. Let's look at the last 3 weeks. Let's look at the last 2 months. Let's go back 7 months. Like, where were you? How was your mind then? Yeah. What were you worried about then? Are you fucking worried about that anymore? No. But like, that is the balance of life, is like you you keep growing in a way of like, I appreciate that now that I went through that struggle, but now I'm in another struggle. But because that's just what life is just like keep building through that. But now you're not worried about what you were worried about back then. But through that, you learn more of, oh, well, I want to be better in this other outlet now. But to that, I couldn't advance to that unless I went through that X amount of weeks ago, X amount of days ago, X amount of months ago.
Looking back on lessons and being like, damn, I'm so happy I went through that.
Yeah,
and
totally.
100%.
It goes back to the divine timing thing. And I've been thinking about this a lot as I guess, grow my spirituality and pray more and try and listen to that inner voice that's coming from the heart. And since I moved here, there's been so many instances where I wanted something so bad, but God was like, nah, dude, I'm going to take this away from you because your path's over here. You're not supposed to go over there.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that, because if that divine timing, or, the belief that God will put me on the path that I should be on versus this other one that I think I want, but I really don't,
right.
It's a specific person that we both know that I would, I don't really know how to tiptoe around this, but
just name drop.
No, I was,
no, I know.
When we cut this shit, though,
I think I had an opportunity that fell through. But I'm very, 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 very grateful that it fell through, because now, looking back and knowing the situation a little bit more, I would have been fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's completely fair. And I definitely feel that.
Let's get into mental health a little bit.
All right.
Because I guess this topic kind of leads into that.
Sure.
Do you believe in anything?
I'm not religious, but I'm 100% like spiritual, and like understanding that like there is a force in this universe that is like, it's crazy, man. Like, I grew up watching Star Wars, and then you rewatch the classics, and then like the way they talk about the force is like, yeah, it's very real. And I talk about this with my buddy Bryce all the time, and he's very spiritual, very, very into mental health and things like that. Him and I have both, on our own paths, have been through some fucking shit, and we value our friendship very much now, because like that is something we are always on the same page about. And again, no positive things happen without negativity.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, that's the balance of the world. Good, bad, sad, happy, like all that stuff is tied together. If there was no sad, happy wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Like there would be like happy would just be like
A
sitting
constant.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, a constant, literally just fucking like, and you're just like smiling your ass off. Like we're just all just like, if sad didn't exist, we're all just in here just smiling like,
yeah, dude, for real. It's boring as fuck.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
like
what the fuck are we
there's
having with our
no,
fucking-
there's no reason. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, and that's like what's important, and that's a lot. So what really, really, like, I think growing up through just being like immature and experimenting with psychedelics, a lot of acid, mushrooms, and stuff like that, I started to realize that like religion is a little like very like self-centered into like focusing on like one God.
Yeah.
But it's like, and again, I'm not a fucking theologist or anything, but just in my like quick summary, it's like all gods and all these religions, they're all like baseline the same exact fucking thing.
Totally.
And then like, like Catholic, I was baptized a Catholic, and like all that stuff, they're like one God only. There's nothing else.
These
like,
are the rules.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
no other fucking God.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this is the right God, and if you are worshiping anything else, like you're probably gonna go to hell. And like that doesn't make sense, because like there could be a extremely religious Catholic and an extremely fucking religious, fucking Buddhist, whatever.
Yeah.
They're on the same plane of like what they're worshiping, but how can you say like
this is better than that?
Yeah,
right.
Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so like growing up, I always felt like super spiritual through like psychedelics, and I started realizing like the connection through like the fucking like thoughts and the shit I was like fucking seeing. I'm like, oh my God, like why do I feel like this fucking God right now, dude? I'm like in my fucking bedroom with like 3 of my homies just like chain smoking like 3 packs of cigarettes, just frying our nuts off, and we're like, dude, we can take the fucking world over, man. Like we can kill it, man. Like bro, we can literally become millionaires just by us thinking, like it like puts you in a place where you're like, damn, like that is crazy. I was thinking like that. But years gone on, actually, really what turned, and now, to get back on topic of mental health, March of 2021, I had some buddies in from college. And at that point, I was like a year and a half into living in Colorado. I was like, yo, like life's chill. Like I was still kind of like in my like college phase of just like boozing a lot and like getting fucked up, and like at the time I was like going through it of like with like my ex-girlfriend and just like drinking for the wrong reasons, no celebration. It was a lot of hiding and escape. My buddies came into town. We were on like a fucking 5-day bender, just getting fucked up, obliterated, boozing, fucking
all the things,
everything. And the last fucking day, dude, I fucking is fucking Sunday night or something like that. It was for some reason we had work. We didn't have work on Monday. It was some holiday, and that Sunday night, got detached from the group because I was like fucking obliterated. Like downtown Denver, I was like, I'm gonna fucking Lime scooter back to fucking Rhino.
Oh shit,
dude! I fucking came around it was bad. I fucking came around a corner, fucking ran straight into this big ass electrical box.
Oh shit!
Fucking fucked my face up. I was like concussed for like 2 months.
Damn,
like just a straight like hole. Like I think in that point, that was like rock bottom for me. And once you hit rock bottom, you can't go any lower. So I started looking for answers and stuff like that. And then my ex-girlfriend at the time came back into my life as just kind of like a positive factor and was around and was like supportive. Like, dude, I was like concussed. Like the first week of my concussion, like my fucking mom flew out. And like she's just like looking at me like, Brendan, what the fuck, you know? And it was like a very like alarming and waking up thing. My face was all fucked up. Like I had like the fucking handlebar like went straight into my fucking eye. Like, dude, I got like fucked up, dude. Yeah, it was bad. And like I had to go get like fucking CT scans on my neck, my fucking skull, like all this stuff.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, it was bad. And like that was just like the wake up call. And again, like what we're talking about, that was a absolutely terrible thing that happened. But that moment, the reason that shit happened, like, is put me in the best place I've ever been for the last like 3 years of my life.
Right.
I started really looking into holistic psychology. A book I read was How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. That's the one I'll swap you with. And it's just learning about how your brain works and why your brain works, and it, over the years of like being a child into adult, like why you are the way you are. It's just about understanding yourself internally, and like, dude, it just opened up the world to me, and it made my perspective of life just broaden. Of like, there's an appreciation for everything now. It like took me out of autopilot of just like coasting every day. Again, working that fucking corporate job of just being like, oh, fuck, like, I'm getting paid, but, like, holy fuck, I hate my fucking life. Yeah, right, exactly. And that, like, changed a lot for me. And, don't get me wrong, like, people think, like, that healing journey that you start with yourself is, like a 1 month thing.
No,
And dude, it's like it's lifelong.
It's every fucking day.
Every single fucking
literally.
day,
Yeah.
every minute, every hour. Like, and
I think people don't understand.
They
that
don't understand
concept.
that, right? Like
It takes work.
yeah.
You know,
Like people can go on like a big spiritual retreat and then come back and like I'm healed, and it's like
It's bullshit. Yeah.
temporarily.
yeah, right. Like you were on this glorified trip. I'm sure it absolutely was beautiful, and I would love to like experience something like that for myself.
Totally.
But like to then come back into your regular life, and then like that's the test. It's like, okay, you have this beautiful experience. Like, well, do you go back into who you were, or do you keep taking that fucking upward path of like, damn, this is really fucking difficult, and I got to keep going on it.
Yeah.
One thing, like I think this is a metaphor that I always like told myself is like when I started really fucking focusing in on understanding my fucking brain and shit, my mind was like, the more I'm starting to realize, the more I realize what I fucking don't know at all. And there's so much shit. And that's like an overwhelming thought. Like that's like, oh fuck. Like
It's humbling.
yeah, right. Like it's like, dude, do I just go back into the comfort zone? And it's like, no, you just have to keep fucking pushing forward and digging and digging. And again, like people just think like, oh, you have like these experiences and then you put in the work for a few months and then you're just good and then you stop doing it. But it's like, no, like you have to keep on, like that pressure has to stay on to like keep like for me, I'm like rewiring my fucking brain and the conditioning in my brain for the last, at that point, like 24 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that like, so if it took 24 years to twist my fucking mind up and I'm like 3 years into it, you're fucking goddamn right. I'm going to just slip back in and fuck up at times.
Totally.
But the difference is the awareness. Because then, again, I caught myself slipping last week, and like I had this whole fucking, experience again, and I felt myself. I was really like, all right, Brendan, it's time to do some changes again. Like you dip back into old versions of yourself. It's time to like suit up, and like you gotta like take the hard path again because like you see where you're going right now, and you've been there before, and it's only downward. Like you have to fucking you have to make changes again. Like it was like to a point. Like, dude, I remember when I first started like my healing journey, and I was like fucking just going through it, and I was like so emotional and like, dude, just like releasing like so many fucking tears of just like suppressed shit from like so long ago that I just like never addressed because I just didn't know how.
Right.
You know, and like I mean, I remember this one time. It was when my concussion was getting better, and I still wasn't working. But I was at a point where I was able to like leave my house and I was like, my fucking eyes and brain were good to be out in sunlight without getting a fucking
headache,
migraine or some shit. So I'd like go on these walks and stuff like that. And then I fucking just like got back into my apartment and I just like fucking just like dropped to my fucking knees and I was just fucking bawling my eyes out, dude. And I was just sitting there like, what the fuck is happening right now? But like, it felt so good. And then, like, right there, I was just like, dude, I'm fucking waking up, man. And it's like, I was never, people always talk about, you have to just be vulnerable with others and open up. But it's like, no, you got to be vulnerable with yourself, dude. Like, you have to open up to you. Deep. Like, yeah, like, and again, like, you start digging deep and then you're like, oh, damn, like, yeah, this is why this shit's bothering me. Like, this is why this is happening and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, like.
Dude, I tear up in yoga all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
weekly occurrence, I would say.
Yeah.
I try not to let it all go because I'm at yoga.
Yeah, you can't be crying in front of the bad bitches.
Yeah, come on now.
Dude, last
week. But I don't know. They might fuck with that, though.
Yeah, that's
like,
true. Yeah, bro,
like,
man right there.
The tall guy over there is very vulnerable.
No one sees this shit. I'm in child's pose.
Okay. All right, heard.
But last week in particular, dude, I had an emotional few days.
Yeah.
Like that was a tough thing. But fuck, I just had a point and I
totally lost it.
Fucking. Oh no. Okay, I got it. So what I always think about when I've been on, I guess my mental health journey since I really took it seriously my first year of college, my only year of college, and I wrote a blog about it. I talk about it a lot. So some of my friends will ask me like, what do you think about it and why do you feel this way? And I always say, think about it like physical health. If you don't work out and you don't put in work to your body, you're going to get out of shape. It's the same thing with your head.
100%.
And if you're not putting in work and you're not doing those daily reps of what, like just focusing on your diet or meditating, journaling, creating, whatever it is, if you're not putting in consistent work, your head's going to get out of shape.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And, you know, just to even like support what you're saying too is like, again, people, you start like advocating for like mental health and, you know, the healing experience and all that stuff. And they're like, well, you're good then, you know, like you're good. Yeah. And like, and it's like, no, and like you and I, us three, like we'll talk about our problems still. And they're like, well, you've been like putting in the work. So like, how are you still feeling this way? And I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Like the point of it is like growing more and more into it and being like, finally like being okay of like, I'm okay fucking up. Like I'm okay celebrating like these important parts of my life. Like I'm okay with just going through this shit. Like I know like everything I'm doing and a lot of people's probably opinions that I'm probably not doing it the right way. There's parts of me that I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this the right way. But like, am I just going to let it keep being this incorrect way in my mind? Like, no, like, that takes time. There's a massive process into that. And again, like people just want it now. Yep. And like, again, like you're talking about physical, you know, a big thing that and how to do the work. Like the whole premise behind the book is tying three things together: mind, body, and soul. You know,
I think you're off.
Yeah, that's yoga.
There you go. Welcome to the pod.
But yeah, like I think even at the beginning of my journey, and I'd still say it's a massive part is, you know, I was really good about the spiritual side and the mental side, but my physical side, like, and still this day, my physical side's not like, you know, I'm 3 years into like really being aware of and focused on like being better. 3 years down the road, I still like, you know, I've gone through my spurts where I like am physically active and shit like that. But then there's times where I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And then I start feeling like shit again. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just keep doing it. But what I'm getting at is like 3 years down the road, we're talking about a lifetime to tie these three together.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like,
you're never, ever going to be perfect.
No.
Yeah,
Never. And that's, you know, again, people want that perfection. I think that's a definite like conditioning of like a young adult. You know, you kind of go through like the education system. You like you guys, for example, like 20, right? 23. Yeah. Like, you know, you guys are like being exposed to life as an adult, and you're like, well, I'm just kind of like getting through. It's fucking cool. Like I'm experiencing all this stuff, you know. And I look at myself when I was like fucking, you know, at your guys' age, and I was like, I was not thinking about any of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there was like no part of me, like it was literally like, oh, like I'm straight out of fucking college. Like I'm still fucking like I can still booze a shit ton. And,
yeah,
like, right. Still do some fucking lines of blow and like I'm fucking sick. Like this lifestyle's sick, man. And you know, like yo, that suits people. Like people do that shit forever,
right?
But like for me, I just realized like no, that's like not good for my health. Like it's not good for my fucking brain. It's not good for like my art or my like visions. And like that's what I was kind of talking about earlier, where I caught myself again last week, like just kind of getting caught into the scene of, you know, my surroundings and like being cool with that. And like that's fine. And like my friend groups that I have out here are fucking dope and all that stuff. And I love all of them. But for myself, I'm like, I have like these like crazy dreams and aspirations of being a fucking artist.
Yeah.
I can't do this stuff. I can't be fucking partying and boozing and fucking staying up all the time, like late as hell, being on benders and stuff like that. Like, dude, I fucking love that shit. Don't get me wrong.
It's fun
but
as
like,
fuck.
I have to fucking stop. Like, if I, again, like, I have to fucking quit that stuff if I want to like be dead ass serious about my artwork. Yeah. And, you know, people like, again, like they love me. They like me because of who I am as an individual to them. Like if I'm an artist or not an artist to them, it doesn't matter. Cause like we're tight. Like you're my homie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just the part like where that's not an explanation from me that I have to communicate with them. Like, that's just a me thing. It's like, yo, if they fuck with me, they're my friend, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter if I fall off. Like, I got to do my artwork. And if, like, they're my friends, it doesn't matter if they don't see me because you're my friend. And I'll see, when I do see you, we're going to have a great time together. But, like, there's just, like, that, you know, people talk about, like, oh, like, I need to set a boundary with people. And it's like, no, I think you can't do that until you, like, set the boundaries within yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and
eliminate distractions from the goal.
And again, like, you can just say that and, like, be like, yeah, like, I'm done with that. But, like, yo, easier said than done. Like, you have to put in work for that, bro. Like, your mind, like, bro, my mind, you know, I work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday at the serving job I have now. And every time I fucking walk out fucking Tuesday night, I'm like, damn, bro, I'm about to go get a fucking beer. Like, you know, I'm about to go get some fucking burritos and some margaritas. Like, I'm fucking chilling. And, like, that shit's great. But that's probably going to lead me to staying up longer. And then in my head be like, damn, I should get a fucking bag right now too. You know what I'm saying? It's just like all these thoughts. And it's like, well, you take that shit out of the equation. Well, like, hey, like, that's going to be tough. Like, that's what you enjoy doing. That's what your brain enjoys doing. But now you have this new part in your life that you're like, well, this is what I think is what I actually believe is going to advance me in life to a different level beyond my friend groups that I have here, beyond like my family who loves me unconditionally. Like, this is like a me journey. And because we can go to the bars when not you yet, but young man. But you know, the bars aren't going anywhere. Alcohol's not going anywhere.
For real,
drugs aren't going anywhere. Bro, you can do that shit whenever the fuck you want. But what I can't do is fucking get this fucking concept that I've been cooking in my brain for the last 2 weeks. I can't get that back because eventually, like, that shit dies away. The motivation behind it dies away. And if I'm just stacking a bunch of shit in front of it to, like, not get me there, that's on me. And, like, that's my choice. And again, back to the fucking mental health shit. If that's what you want to do, that's what you're going to do. But you got to, like, learn to, like, be all right with that. Yeah. Like, for me, I get fucking pissed about that because I'm like, dude, you're fucking getting away from your plan again. But
for artists, it's real hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And again, because, you know, especially in this role right now, my art is during the times, you know, like, I love that the sun's out. It makes my moods a billion times
so much better.
So much better, bro. But that also makes me want to be on a fucking patio at fucking brunch.
Drinking fucking mimosas.
Yeah, drinking mimosas, having fucking chicken and waffles, and fucking enjoying myself, and then boozing for the next 10 hours. Like, that sounds great. But then I'm going to be hungover the next day. I'm not going to have any motivation to fucking work on my craft to improve myself. And, you know, I am not, like, it's so weird because a lot of people, like, with kind of what I'm talking about, like, people are like, well, why don't you just stop drinking and stop, you know, doing drugs and all that stuff? Well, I've been doing this shit since, like, fucking freshman year of high school. I smoked weed for the first time in 7th grade. Yeah. Like, I've always liked I've always liked feeling different, you know what I'm saying? Like, mentally and stuff like that. Probably is why I'm so fucking behind. Well, it's probably why I'm not having a family and shit, you know what I'm saying? But, like, again, like, that's the journey thing. Like, this is my shit, you know, I got to deal with this stuff, and there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
What are we at,
Ollie? 125.
Let's just keep fucking rolling, dude. We're having a great conversation.
Yeah, we're kicking it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, y'all can't cut me off.
Do you want to take a break so I can switch the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you gotta do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we should just not fuck with that. Okay, we're back. Short break. Oh, yeah. It's already gone. Okay. So, yeah, what started me on my, like, mental health journey, I don't know if that's, like, the best. I mean, it's ongoing, you know what I mean? You know, like 100%. We were just talking about. But I read this book when I was in, like, junior year of high school or something like that, and it was just about acid and or like MDMA and psychedelics in general, and how we can use that as therapy.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I really love this example in the book. They were like, when you take a psychedelic like acid, MDMA, something like that, it's like imagine your brain is like a snowy field in winter, and it's like a meadow, and people walk through it and create like paths and grooves that you follow and like that make sense. And so when you take those substances, it's like just a nice little thin sheet of powder on top.
Right.
And so then you can like try and just chip away and change slightly the way your brain works and the way those like neural paths that you have.
Yeah.
And you can like use it as a tool to change, because we get so stuck in our, like, it's so easy to just fall, like we get comfortable and it's so easy to stand in, and it's so hard to change those paths. And so then I was like, instead of, because I liked like acid sick, you know what I mean, like mushrooms are sick, but then actually being able to use it as like a tool to try and change your mentality.
I agree.
Super cool.
It's very, like I would definitely say in my younger days, like throughout high school and stuff, when I really started experimenting with psychedelics, that it was like like we're getting trippy, you know. And then like after a few times, honestly, after the first time, I remember the fucking first time I did it, and it was fucking amazing. But like it was like it hit me that I was like, oh wait, like this isn't just like a drug.
No,
like
this
it's
changes your life.
Yeah, right. Like this is like mind altering.
Right.
But mind altering can go both ways, because there's the people who, again, who like will try psychedelic and then they're like, I'm getting trippy, but then the walls start breathing and the fucking wood floor starts getting all geometrical, and like your brain starts fucking going out of your fucking head.
Yeah.
You're not in control anymore.
Yeah, right. Like, and then people freak the fuck out. Like I've experienced that a lot I've experienced that with several people, and like, you know, like thankfully none of them got like fucked up forever and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it was like at that young of an age and mature of like being ignorant to what you're taking, like it changed them for like several weeks of like just being like, yeah, that was scary. Like, I don't think I'm not going to like smoke weed anymore. Like, I don't think I'm going to do anything anymore. Like, that was just really intense. And like, you know, I've had a few experiences where it's gotten extremely overwhelming, and that it's like, oh God, like, you know, I'll, you know, people always say like, oh, it's a bad trip, but it's like, you know, in my opinion, and from what I've experienced, it's like bad trip is just you're in a bad state of mind.
Yeah, it's
and
what you
need
need
currently. Yeah, like you're not right. Like you're currently in this bad place. You're taking something that's so intense that honestly can repair it in a very educational way. But if you don't know that it can do that, it'll fucking consume the shit out of you.
Totally.
And if you don't have the intention going into it to learn.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from it. It's like, they're fun. I've never done acid, but for mushrooms, like if someone hasn't done them and, you know, they're interested about mental health and they can see the benefits from it, I guess my advice to them would be go into it with an intention and really be looking for not answers, but be open to everything that the mushrooms are going to show you.
Well, and then
you
also just like most of the bad trips are you're just going around in circles in your head. And so like if you're in that space already, or like you can learn from that in that way. Like you are going around in circles in your life, like in your head already. And so then that's how you can.
Yeah.
You
100%.
just, people are, when I think the biggest thing, at least for me, with kind of tying back to spirituality is, the one lesson I learned when I first did mushrooms, had like a pretty decent trip, was that I was not in control. You know, I call it God, you call it whatever you want, the universe, whatever. They're pulling strings. You are not in control, and that like ego death almost. People always talk about the ego death.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so beneficial.
Yeah, I think, in the right settings and the right
Totally.
community.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, it's cool as fuck now. Like, you know, how like MDMA, mushrooms, ketamine, all those stuff are like being, you know, clinically used for like benefiting people's health who have like serious trauma or like psychological problems and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like, you know, this might sound like fucking like Wookiee or whatever, but like, you know, again, like you're around the right group of people, right community who's all kind of like on the same page of like, yeah, like we're having a fucking fun time. This is great. But like using like the effects of what you're feeling from whatever you're taking, if like you're using it in a positive way, like you can do some real, like you can gain some real traction and progress of like understanding like your brain.
Totally.
But again, like it's just like fucking going on like a healer's retreat or something like that.
If you don't,
When you sober up, are you still going to apply that to your mind? Or because your mind is going to fucking tell you like you were just on drugs and you were crazy and you actually like didn't feel that way. And then you just, you know, because I've done it like in my own experiences of just like you put it on the shelf and you're like, ah, like that was cool. But then like what you're saying, like you start applying it, you know, through like the experience of what you were feeling. Like, dude, it could just be us sitting on the couch and like having this conversation and like, you know, something super positive and learning. But like if you walk out the door and you just put it in your pocket and never look at it again, you know, like it just doesn't matter.
yeah,
And I think that's where it's like everybody does drugs. Literally, like everybody. Like people you'll never talk to, like they do drugs.
Yeah.
You know, they trip, they do whatever. But like some people just take it differently. Like they experience it differently in a way that's like, oh, this is just like a, you know, like this was just something I took and it was like a good day and like that was fun and like that was it. And then there's kind of people, I would say, you know, I think I could speak for all three of us that were like, ooh, like that was like pretty fucking deep. You know, whether it was just like sitting on the couch and fucking playing Mario and stuff like that.
Sure.
Right,
There's
yeah.
still shit like your
That shit
brain
was
is,
deep, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like your fucking brain is still like activated in a way that like it's open to like something deeper, like, you know, something deeper than like us sitting here on the couch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like your brain is like expanding in a way that can either go bad or good. You know, just on the way you want to see it, because, and that you know, I think for me too, like that's just, you know, my thing is like, well, if I can like chill and like microdose mushrooms with you and like, you know, like you're a good friend to me, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter who you are, or like how often we talk, or, you know, what you're doing and what I'm doing when we're not around each other. Like that shit really doesn't matter. You know, obviously don't be doing some fucking creepo shit or, you know, don't be a fucking psychopath, but you know what I'm saying? But like,
dude, from our experience, I learned a heavy lesson about just being extremely grateful for friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
that
don't be afraid to tell people you love them,
yeah,
you know?
That was a crazy ass fucking experience, honestly, because I like, again, you know, and what you're referring to is just, you know, those sorts of situations are like deep. And again, like you as somebody new to our friend group and stuff like that, you could have easily just been like, fuck, like that was stupid. Like I don't want to really be around that and stuff like that. But then no, you took it as like this is like a community thing. Like we're all in this shit together. Like we're good.
You have to be, man.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
like, and but then there's again, like, you know, that like, you know, there wouldn't be, you know, that positive experience out of, again, what we were talking about earlier. Like that was a shitty ass situation.
Oh yeah,
shitty ass situation. But we're like, no, that probably happened because like, you know, that did happen. Unfortunately, it did. But like, yo, it made us all tighter.
Totally.
You know, like we're. You know, it's kind of a locked in thing at that point. And yeah, like those are those trials in life where you're like, oh, that was out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
it is a big curveball.
Yeah.
Do you have any daily practices or just things that, you know, if you're in a rut
sure.
in your head, and obviously creating is one of the big ones,
right.
But is there anything else, little things that you do to help you throughout the day?
I would say like, I'm not, you know, I used to be really big on reading, and then, I think to a point I started like reading a little too much, and
people don't talk about that.
Yeah, it was reading too much, and then I got to a point where I think I was reading too much content that the content previously I had not fully like processed and like educated myself like deeper within like afterwards, like reflecting and stuff like that. But I think like where I'm at right now is like to get myself out of ruts is I do a lot of reflection within myself. And I've been wanting to get better about like journaling and stuff, but you know, my own opinion, I think I do a good job in my mind. And I just kind of like go over, you know, the things that are going on in my life, why I'm in a rut, trying to figure out, because sometimes you just don't know. You know, you're just like kind of wake up one day and you're like, damn, I'm feeling shitty. And like, there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on. And honestly, like, yeah, recently, yeah, like I would definitely say I was like in a rut. But then, was it Sunday morning? Woke up pretty early and was like, all right, like you're feeling some type of way inside and things like that. So, you know, let's go back and let's, you know, review the last like 3 weeks of everything that was going on. And it was a super fucking busy ass weekend, and no reason to go into any details, but it was like my mind being like extremely active. And then over that weekend, I had a very like up and social weekend and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, like, well, it's, you know, this reflection is very important because like this is your time by yourself. You haven't had much time by yourself. And now is this time to like really get personal and like figure out like, hey, were there things I've done, things I could have done better, and then like were there things like, yo, I'm okay with, you know, through everything that I'm kind of, you know, in a rut for. And those stuff, like those types of things, like, you know, again, it's like opening up to yourself and being vulnerable and like just being super fucking honest, man.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Lizzie and I were walking to coffee this morning, and we were just like joking around about something, and something got brought up in the lines of crying. And then she was like, when was the last time you cried? And I was like, last Sunday or on Sunday. Yeah. She's like, oh shit. I was like, yeah. And, you know, like nothing wrong with that. And again, like you can like take that as like, oh damn, like, why are you sad? And it's like, no, it really wasn't a thing of being sad. It was just like reflecting and being like, yo, like there are some things that have gone on recently that have like bothered me, but like I have to like keep moving forward with this and like, yeah, take the lesson inside of it. And like, you know, that's a simple thing that I always tell myself is like, good, bad, whatever it is, like take the lesson. There's a lesson inside of any small exchange of experience that you have. Like, you know, some fucking homeless person fucking hagging you and stuff like that. Like your reaction, whether you decide like you want to flare up on this person or you just keep walking away,
right? And
like feeling how you're feeling, like, you know, that's just like a small stupid example.
But
it like, you know, that is something like where like, hey, like how are you, like how's your composure doing and things like that.
Totally.
And yeah, like, and I think like ruts are just like
they're necessary.
Yeah, they're very necessary. Again, like they're just checkpoints of like, all right, slow down a little bit, like take a fucking break.
Yeah.
You know, like let's get back to like yourself. Let's get back inside your body.
Yeah.
I always feel like when I'm in a rut, I'm like so forward thinking or I'm so thinking backwards. And then once I kind of like restore myself to, you know, back into my body and being present, that's where like it kind of clicks and you're like, ooh, like there's like relief, you know, and you're like, okay, like that's great. Like I'm glad like I fucking went through that, and you know, I appreciate myself like having like this time to like have these questions in my head and to like, you know, kind of talk to myself, you know, like, hey, where are you right now? You know, like you know, what are you thinking about in the past that's bothering you? What are you thinking about in the future that's like giving you anxiety, like all that type of stuff. And again, you find that, you know, you get to that restored point within yourself back inside your body. Like that's where I can just kind of feel like I can like breathe again, you know, and that feels great. And I just don't, you know, it just seems like through my peers and surroundings of just, and I'm not saying like, I'm just saying like people in general, you know, I work at you guys work at a restaurant and stuff like that. You know, you fucking deal with people, man. And like, it's like, you can just tell people are just sour for no reason and stuff like that. And then it's like, well, that sucks because this is an absolute stranger. I know this person's just being sour because they have something going on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the fucking one to tell you, oh, like, it could be better or something like that. Like, that's, like, whatever. And, you know.
Well, I think there is a point to that, though. I think sometimes people do need a little check and be like, yo, you're complaining about all this shit. When was the last time you took a look around?
Right.
And we're like, had a little bit of gratefulness.
But they have to be able to like accept, like hear that too.
Like hear
yeah,
it.
No,
listen to it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Listen to it. They can hear it and they could probably just be like, fuck you, asshole.
Yeah.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay, very situational.
Yeah.
So where I think that would be more like I would never say that to a stranger.
Right.
But if it's like a homie who's, you know, been through some shit recently and, you know, is looking for some guidance or just someone to vent to, you know, my friends check me on that and I'm grateful for it. Cause then when they say that, I'm like, damn, you're right.
Yeah.
We're chilling,
Right.
you know, life's not bad. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. You know, I have a job.
Check
like,
the
dude,
There's a lot worse things.
There's a lot worse
check,
things.
Yeah, check things off the box that like are good for you right now.
Yeah.
As opposed, I think, you know, it just made me have this thought, and a big thing that I've kind of been doing recently with a lot of just people in general, friends and all that stuff is like, I think I'm just kind of done with just giving advice, you know, because
I wouldn't. Don't limit yourself to that.
no, okay, hear me out. I just feel that like, and I know this, and you know, I think it's a powerful thing to understand. To like, you know, for me, it's been powerful for me to like ingrain this in my mind. Is like, people, you can tell them anything, like you can be that advocate for them at any time, and you know, you can do all you can as a friend to support them in a way. But when people aren't going to change off of your word. People aren't going to make adjustments off of your word. Whether you say it once or you say it a billion times. And for me, it's given me peace of just like, hey, I'm cool with just like nodding my head and saying yes to whatever we're talking about. Like, and I'm talking about situational, like when it comes to like talking about things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, like people just need to experience their lives and like go through it. But when you come to me and ask for help or you want to talk about some shit, oh yeah, I'll 100% be that ear for you. I'll be a voice if you want me to be. But I just don't, you know, I think it's kind of like, it's been a waste on like my energy to just like put my 2 cents out there when like I feel that like, hey, I'll give you some thoughtful advice and stuff like that. And then it's just like, you know, you see outcomes and then it's like, well, that just went out the other. So like, does it fucking matter? Because like, if I was just like, yeah, cool, fuck yeah, the same outcome's going to happen because it's a self thing, you know, at that point. And I think that's like it's important to like preserve your energy and not cast out your own energy for things that aren't being like open to that. Because again, like, you know, if you give out something thoughtful, like, yo, that's like your fucking brain power, you know, and that might just like, in a way, like kind of, you know, it'll like exhaust you in a way that is, you know, like you don't even notice it, but then you're like going through your day and you're like, damn, you know, I'm just kind of exhausted. You know, it's like, it's a weird thing. I might be a little opinion based on it, but, you know, that's kind of where my mind's at right now, because for me, you know, since kind of like the last 2 months, a month and a half, 3 weeks ish in this time frame, since I've like really been like, you know what, I just want to let everybody be. And if they need my, you know, advice on anything, or they want, you know, to hear me say something, like I'll give them that. I've just realized that I've gotten a lot more like energy within myself. Like creatively, fucking just like going out, small shit like, yo, I'm going to just go hit a few mile walk around the neighborhood, super casual, of like just wanting to do that because I just like feel that like, well, I'm just focusing on me right now.
Yeah.
And I think, it's definitely selfish in a way.
You need to be selfish.
Yeah, right. But it's selfish in a way that's like good for
beneficial.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good for you, but it's also good for everyone else you're around
100%.
too. Because now you're in a better state.
Exactly.
And which makes you a better friend, a better son. The list goes on.
And
right.
I think the other thing is like, at least from my experience, I feel like 90% of the time people just want to have somebody to listen to.
They just want to,
right. Or like to be listened or to listen to them.
They
you guys got me.
Well,
yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
yeah.
so I'm like 90% of the time I'm like,
they just want attention.
Not only do I not want to expend my brain power thinking about what my 2 cents on your
I
thing,
can solve
but
this
like,
for you.
yeah,
or
but like
point you in this direction.
you need to figure it out for yourself,
Yeah.
and I will be here to listen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I guess I phrased that in a poor way.
Yeah, you're a douche.
But I guess my what I was trying to get to was advice. People should be aware of where they're looking for advice, and also if you do want to vent and like you have all these problems and you're aware of them, there has to be a switch where it just goes from venting to venting. I want to learn from these things and move forward through them instead of just project.
yeah,
I don't
totally.
want to do any work. I'm going to stay the exact same,
100%.
but I just want to keep projecting.
I think that's an issue, throughout this whole podcast, what we've been talking about is just like kind of being like extremely mindful of everybody else. And like some people just aren't as mindful as like us three are as individuals.
You can't force them to be.
No,
Yeah,
right, exactly. Like you have to commit. Like people, like I committed on my shit on my own regard. The same for you too, and like that applies to everybody.
And all three of us, that looks different.
Totally.
Extremely different, and it'll look different for whoever else it is.
Yeah.
And like again, like that's where that is where like divine timing comes in, because it happens maybe super early in your life or super fucking late in your life, and all that type of stuff. And like that's where it's interesting, is because like when you get around like a healing community and stuff like that, which is really fucking cool, it's like people of all ages.
Yeah.
Like it just hits them at a different time and stuff like that. I mean, I can, for example, like I look at my dad, he's 57, 58, retired, chilling, like lives back at home. Like he just fucking loves fucking sitting at the bars and golfing. Like he's just the typical retired Midwest white man. I think that's like 95% of retired men, whatever. And, there's just been times him and I have had like in-depth conversations about like shit I'm going through and how I process things and how my vision and perception on life and all that stuff. And I remember one night, this was a few years ago, and I was like very fresh into like my journey of discovering like my potentials and stuff like that. He was just like, Brenna, like we were fucked up, and he was like, Brenna, I don't know what you're really talking about, man. And I was like, I kind of got like offended, but then I was also like, that's okay, because like his mind's not there, and it's not where my mind's at, and that's fine. Like maybe that's a wrong on me for like bringing up something that he might just be ignorant about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and like
that's a good point.
Yeah, right. And like that's cool, and like it's okay to be on a different levels of people and stuff like that. And I'm not saying like, like, oh, you can only talk to people who have done like psychological work on their brain. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's like you just kind of pick and choose your dialogue.
Totally. With certain people.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I felt this way my whole life. Like I feel like I can just like vibe check people like very quickly of like how I feel, of like what I do, what I like should say, what I shouldn't say, like those types of things. But don't get me wrong, like I've definitely made mistakes where probably I've said some outlandish shit, some like fucking 5-dimensional brain shit, and they're like, yeah, like this kid is a fucking nut, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, like, oh, as this kid says all this shit to me, and fucking he's like fucking chain smoking a pack of cigs because he's fucking tripping on some shrooms right now. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, it's just like it all ties in, you know, somehow, some way, and it's, I don't know.
I always say, I've said it a bunch on the podcast, and I hope like I can continue to push this specific message of don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Question everything I say because I'm not perfect. And
this is,
you know, but that should go for everything you consume. It's like, don't just hear something and think it's true.
Yeah.
You
like
know?
There's a lot of things that I say that are not like professionally or scientifically backed.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, yo, this is just like free thought of like preferences and boundaries on my life that have worked for me. It's probably not going to work for you. It doesn't really matter what it doesn't. And like, I'm not trying to be the preacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be, you know, like,
the end all be all.
You need to read How to Do the Work.
Yeah.
Or your life is fucked. Like, you're literally going to be sad for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And one thing, you know, I have conversations with, and I say this a lot to a lot of my friends, is like, okay, like we're at this point, this plane in our life where we're like discovering a lot about ourselves and embarking on this fucking lifelong journey, but we can't exist if the people who are ignorant to everything or who will never like tap into like this depthness of our brains, like we can't exist if those people don't exist.
Yeah.
Like that's again,
we
like,
need everybody.
from the beginning of this conversation of this podcast, the balance, like the force,
Like,
totally.
we have to like that's what
you have to be able to see it.
that's what puts like the healers and like the non-healers, like that type, like people who are into psychology, people who are into psychology on the fucking equilibrium line. Like they're all the way down here because they don't exist, but we're all the way up here because we're choosing to think like that. But since there's that balance, and that's what brings it back, because like that's like the fucking scale right there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that like the equilibrium line, like that is how we are all equal, but we're not, because we're all like, you know, this was a thought I had a few years ago when I was like tripping, and you just think of a line and it's all the emotions, like all your feelings and all that stuff on this line. Like my social level is up here, and say you're extremely antisocial and it's all the way down here. But then you have to consider all the other emotions and feelings you have, and all those levels are negative, positive, sitting at zero. Mine are all at different levels of negative, positive, sitting at zero. But like it's all equals to
Surrounding
zero.
that line,
It
yeah.
all hits zero. Like all the numbers on the scale, all those added up, it all stays at zero.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think ignorance is bliss in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to mental health shit. Like if you just don't know about it.
I say this all the time,
I mean,
dude. I say this all the time. If like I never got in depth about my mental health, seeing all the bullshit that like I now have, like I'm looking up on, that I still am like repairing and like that I'm planning to discover and shit like that. There's times where I'm like, damn, this is really fucking hard. Sometimes I wish I was just ignorant as fuck and I was just kind of like a drone, you know, just fucking
Totally.
on autopilot all the time, because like these motherfuckers that are on autopilot, like, bro, they got the good high salary job, full benefits. Like they got a
Totally.
fucking mortgage on the crib, all that stuff. And like, I'm not saying like, you know, that's
You can't have
everybody.
both.
Yeah,
Right.
right. You, cause you definitely can have both. Yeah. But you know, there is like by the masses when we're talking about like, you know, it's so crazy because I don't think we realize how large like the world is. You know,
Yeah.
a big thing I had. This was a few years ago when I just moved to Colorado, and the speaker, I was working for the YMCA, and we all went to this speaker, and he came from like really tough neighborhood like down south, and he's just talking about like how he kind of just made it out, and like now he's like this, you know, motivational speaker that goes around the country and he's just spreading his message and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that stuck with me in that speech was he was like, so many people in this world just have a 3-block proximity they only know because he came from like the streets and stuff like that in the hood and all that stuff. And he's like, that's why they call it the trap, because it's literally like all they know is these 3 blocks, and they run those 3 blocks, but they'll never fucking get out. But when you expand on the proximity is like 3 blocks, a whole neighborhood, a whole fucking subdivision, a whole fucking town or city, a whole state, you know, a whole country, the whole world.
Yeah.
There's so many fucking people.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there. And that's why, like, I don't know. I think it's so cool, like, that as, like, individuals, like, fucking human beings, like, magnetism is, like, so real. Because, like, you're telling me that, like, there's probably, like, in this fucking neighborhood itself, I mean, how many would you, like...
so many
dude,
fucking
yeah,
people. Yeah.
let's
Thousands,
go, yeah,
yeah.
thousands, like, probably, like, 60,000 just in these, like, several communities.
Yeah,
of these
just
3
around here,
blocks.
yeah.
And we're probably going to talk to maybe, like, 0.2, 0.1% of those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
like, ever in our lives, whether that's, like, a fucking positive conversation, a fucking argument, or just, like, a casual hello on the streets. Like, that just, like, doesn't happen. But then you just somehow, like, come into a room, and then you're like, damn, like, I fuck with this person. Like, we get along, we relate, like, all that stuff. And it's like, that shit just, like, doesn't happen for no reason, because
Totally.
again, there's hundreds of fucking thousand people around you. Why can't you just be friends with all of them? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah.
But
Bro.
that's because, going back to the fucking baseline, the equilibrium line, the levels are fucking different. And, like, our levels of there's some things on our levels where we're in the same level. You know, we relate, and, like, we share that together. And for all the other people, it's just different levels. That's, like, why you just don't come along certain people. And again, like, going back to, like, the artist community and stuff like that, there's just people like, yo, like, you're talented as fuck at your work and stuff like that, but, like, we just don't have anything in common.
Yeah,
and, like, that's
yeah.
cool. Like, we just have different values, like,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And, like, that's okay, because there's 100 other thousand people over there that might be potentially, like, you can connect with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Z talk about that a lot, and I've been feeling some type of way about this since I moved to Colorado. Because, I mean, I
How
met
long's it been?
November,
Gotcha.
but going back to the spirituality thing in a way, I think God put Zach in my life. I think He put you in my life. I think He put you in my life.
Sure.
He gave me this job.
Yeah.
And then I met Reese too. He's another guy. Now he's my roommate. And
Right.
now me and Ollie are working on Lonely Cowboy together. Like, it's just all these things are clicking.
Yeah,
and
dude. Synergy.
it's fucking
like,
weird,
That's what I'm
man.
saying, but, like, that's how, like, you know, those are how, like, the good things work out. You know, it's,
Totally.
you know,
You need some outside force.
it's crazy too, because, like, as much as, like, it feels like a blessing, it also feels natural because of, like, how easy it is.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, those are those things where you, like, kind of hold on to those types of relationships and stuff like that, because, you know, if I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, like, if you're fucking, like, if you're chopping all this game with me, and, like, it seems like that we're, like, on the same page about shit, like, I'm gonna believe that shit, you know. But the truth, like, will always reveal itself.
Yeah.
So, like, might be years down the road, might be next week, might be tomorrow, whatever. But, like, that truth will always come out, that, like, we just weren't on the same page, and, like, things just kind of, like, fall off, and, like, that's all right. But yeah, it's when you do, like, find a good group of people, and, like, it's just like, how the fuck did this happen?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but that is because, like, you know, that's, like, an energy thing. Like, that's, like, that magnetism of, like,
Right.
it could have been anybody, you know. It
Mhm.
could have been anybody in that kitchen that, like, could have, like, fucking, you've been like, damn, like, this is, like, some big bro shit right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Yeah.
but, like, it just happens to be Z for you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
that's just, like, how it goes. Like,
the weird thing though is that relationship only happened because I did that collab with Kat like 2 years
Right.
prior.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I never in a million years would have thought that the collaboration I did with Kat would lead me to all of this.
Well, I didn't even fucking know that, like, yeah, for the longest, like, I never even put two and two together that,
Yeah.
like, you did. I remember when you did that with Kat, and I was like, who the fuck's that guy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because I like saw her like reposting about it, because then she did a podcast with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I remember seeing all that stuff, and then, yeah, and then with fucking, because when we had met, what was that, a few months ago? Not talking about the holiday party,
Yeah.
because that I was not there mentally. My body was, but
The mind was, yeah.
I was gone too, bro.
Yeah,
It was so funny. They like, wait, were you there at the pregame?
No,
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 You were at
no.
the party?
No, I was at the party.
Dude. Oh my
Dude,
god.
are you gonna, I know
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Dude, so these motherfuckers at their house have the weakest toilets. They have the weakest toilets.
Bro.
So like
That's an excellent start to a story.
7 months ago, when like this was several months ago, Marley had a concert. We're fucking out in Boulder, and I had got off work and I was gonna meet Zach over at his place, and then we were gonna ride up there together. And I go there, I'm like, damn dude, I gotta take a fucking shit, man. He's like, all right, yeah, that's cool. And it was like their middle floor bathroom.
Yeah.
Go in there, you know, just fucking clogged it, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. And like that was like Zach and I, and like our whole group, like I was like, we were all tight, but
Yeah.
like it was not like I'm clogging your toilet.
Yeah,
Like, you just
that
clogged your
tight.
toilet tight.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I just like walk out there, and they had
Oh,
they had a different roommate at the time.
Okay.
He's just like sitting on the couch, and I had never even met this fool before.
Oh,
And I go, yo, because Zach was upstairs like getting ready and shit, and I was like, yo, like I need a fucking plunger, dog. And he was like, what? He's like hammered, and he's like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, I need a plunger. He's like, you need a plunger? I was like, yeah, dude, I clogged the fucking toilet. And then like Zach just so happened to come downstairs, and then I was like, yo, dude, I need a fucking plunger. He's like, dude, you clogged the toilet? I was like, yeah. I was like, you don't have any fucking torque on that that toilet jet. Like that shit's going down slow as fuck. So he brings down the fucking plunger.
yeah.
Stay down there. Fast forward, to this fucking party like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
There's like 20 people pre-gaming
Okay, yeah.
here, and then I like go up to Zay, and I'm like, yo, I gotta take a shit. He's like, yeah, just go run upstairs, take a shit.
Oh, no.
So mind you, he brought the plunger downstairs.
And then it stayed there.
Yes.
Ooh.
So it fucking stayed there.
Oh, so you had to make it.
So I fucking go up there, clog the shit out of their toilet, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking around. I'm like,
Son of a fucking
they gotta
bitch.
have a fucking plunger up here. And I'm like looking around, and then I was like, the plunger's downstairs because of fucking me. A year, like 7-8 months ago, dude. And I'm like, again, I'm like, dude, I'm a friend of Zach. I am like a mutual of Zach. His whole restaurant's literally pre-gaming in this fucking kitchen. What do I look like staying on the outside of the group, like beelining it to the bathroom and just running a plunger upstairs? What does that look like? So and I'm fucking blasted at this point.
Right.
And I literally just walk downstairs and I go, hey, I clogged the toilet. So I just to everybody, to the whole fucking party, I literally just go, I clogged the shit out of the toilet. I'm going to go grab the plunger out of the bathroom. I was just like, there's no way to put this.
There's
like,
no way,
I
nice
was
way
like,
to phrase this.
I can't do this in silence. So I'm just letting y'all know. And everyone's just like, all right.
Cool.
Yeah. And I unclogged that fucking toilet, and I
Hell
came back
yeah.
downstairs, and I was like, all right, let's go.
That's awesome.
That party was so much fun.
That
man.
was a great time. That was like on a fucking Monday night.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from the conversation, but we are sitting at 2:06.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to
Shout me.
go grab a beer at Avanti?
Yeah, of course.
Fuck yeah. All right.
All right.
BK, thank you so much for being on, man.
Appreciate
You're
you guys.
welcome on
Yeah.
at
That
any
was a
point.
pleasure. So fun.
Yeah, man. I love podcasts. And I think I can tell that you enjoy podcasts as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. Sometimes, everything I think I said throughout this whole podcast is probably who you're going to be or who I'm going to be to you in any setting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Yeah, what you see is what you get for sure.
Yeah.
100%. And it's been super fun. I appreciate you guys.
Of course.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Go buy the shirts. LonelyCowboyCo.com. Thank you guys so much for supporting. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Nah, Lonely Cowboy.
Woo.
Oh, good shit, boys. That was fucking sick.